Hi guys, welcome to another Road Pilgrim car review and thank you so much for joining us. And today we are super excited to have the BMW M3 Touring on review with us today. And believe it or not, this is actually the very first time that the M3 has come in the touring format. So not only is it a fast car, but we expect it to be a very practical car as well. So what we're going to do for today's review is a slight bit of difference with other reviews we've done. First thing we're going to do is of course to take a look at its exterior. We're going to take a look at some of the functionality. We're going to jump inside, take a look at the car, and then we're going to go take it for a leisurely drive before putting it through a little bit of performance testing right at the end of the video where we will launch the car. So stay tuned for that and let's go. Alright, so this is the exterior of the BMW M3 Touring, and this car is actually in a Toronto red, which actually, in my opinion, doesn't actually look very red. I feel like it's a little bit of an orange actually, I'm not sure. But some people that I've spoken to see it as red, and for me, I see a little bit more orange. But nonetheless, in whatever color this car comes in, this is an absolutely gorgeous car. I know that some people haven't been fond of the new grills, which they feel are a little bit too large, but you know, on a car like the M3 Touring, I think it works because it's supposed to be loud, it's supposed to be aggressive, and I think the larger nostrils just kind of work, you know, like they kind of blend everything together. It's got this really look at me kind of feel, which I really like. I'm going to show you up close. So you've got some M Sport trim here, M3 competition. You've got these sports wheel wheels with M Sport brake calipers right here. Around the side you've got a nice black apron, side skirt so to speak. And now we're going to hit to the back of the car and take a look. So what I really like about the M3 Touring is that although it's quite a practical car, the footprint feels quite compact. And it doesn't feel too long or too elongated in a sense where, you know, it compromises the aesthetic of the car. I think the car still looks very sporty, and it might even look more sporty than the sedan version, but then again that's up to personal perception, so I'll leave that to you guys. But definitely one of the things that I feel is the highlight of the car is this, which is a independently opening glass panel. You can pop open without opening the entire tailgate, and this allows you to like put your stuff in, and actually in some countries people like to use this as a film car, or not this car, but they like to use the M5 Touring, which also comes with the same feature. They put the cameraman inside here, and then they've got a very comfortable vantage point to film tracking shots of other cars. You know, it's not a make or break feature, but it's definitely a nice one to have, and it just means that you don't have to pop open the entire tailgate. Which, you know, by the way, it's power automated, like it's an automated tailgate as well, so you don't really have much issue there. Here's the boot, got a wonderfully sized boot, and you've got a very flat load lip, so it's super practical on top of being sporty. So right now, we are going to jump into the car and take a look at what it feels like on the inside. Alright guys, so now we are inside the M3 Touring, and this is the cabin of the M3 Touring. And the first thing you notice is just how cockpit-like the cabin feels, which is very driver-oriented, which I like very much. So let's start off with the largest piece of tech here, and this runs OS 8, as with all new BMWs. However, the M cars have specially designed interfaces, so the menus do look a little bit different, and the graphics are a little bit different for the M cars. Of course, you have the option of adding your widgets, but I'm not going to do that right now. And there's also this display image of the car. Happens to be in the same Toronto red color as the car, so I'm not entirely sure if the graphic color matches the actual color of the car. but because we only have one test car, so I guess if I see that it's red here and red there, the assumption is that it matches, but if the color is different, then I'm not sure if it actually changes. But other than that, the rest of the menus, once you open up the main menu, is pretty much the same as what you get on any other BMW. Of course, you do have M specific functions here. You've got an M drift analyzer, M lap timer, and you've also got driving settings which are very extensive. There are so many things that you can adjust on the M3 Touring that I would not be able to finish explaining every single thing. However, later on, I will talk you through how to change some of the M mode settings that you can preset your M buttons for. But aside from that, this runs OS 8, it's got the curved screen, everything's pretty nice. And you've also got a digital driver's display which is integrated with the infotainment unit. And here you have some M logos that tell you that you are in an M car. And it also has a special like it tells you whether you're in all-wheel drive mode or two-wheel drive mode, because this car technically allows you to drive in all-wheel drive or with just two-wheel drive. But here's the interesting thing, because in the driving settings, you're only able to access two-wheel drive if you turn off traction control, which, if you think about it, kind of translates to BMW telling you that two-wheel drive mode or rear-wheel drive mode is actually specifically a drift mode. They don't explicitly say it's a drift mode, but if you think about it, you can only use it in rear-wheel drive mode only when you turn off the traction control. So my assumption is that it is actually purely meant for drift usage. Right, aside from that, I kind of digress, but anyway, here you've got the new M steering wheel, which has carbon fiber inlays, and also carbon fiber inlays on the pedal shifters, which are actually nice and large. They're larger than the regular ones. So even if you're holding the wheel at say a lower position here, you can actually still activate your pedal shifters, which is really useful. I like larger pedal shifters, and they're not so large like the ones you get on the Alfa Romeo where they kind of get in the way. These are quite a nice size. Down in the center console, you've got of course, your gear selector, and this M gear selector is a little bit different from the regular gear selectors because the reverse gear, for example, is selected through you have to kink it to the left, which actually feels a bit like a manual car where you have to do a sort of a special maneuver to activate your reverse gear. I think it's more of a, I don't know why they do it in this car because it's automatic anyway, but it does kind of feel nice. Like it gives it a more sporty feel, if you will. And then of course you've got your drive, and then your park selector is actually on the shifter itself. So when you want to put it in park, or you just press the button. Other than that, you've got all your different controls here, which controls your camera, traction control, and right now the car has shut off by itself, so and this is due to the auto start stop, so I'm going to turn the auto start stop off, which is wonderful because a lot of new BMWs don't have an auto start stop off button that is so easily accessible right now. All the hybrid models especially don't have this anymore, so this is a really nice thing that I appreciate. You've also got auto hold here. You've got M mode setups, and you've got your exhaust sound amplifier selector right here, right? Okay. Other than that, you've still got some regular storage spaces here. You've got a wireless charger, USB ports, and you've got more carbon fiber inlays around the center console and around the dash. So all in all, this car feels like an aggressive sporty car. But aside from being an aggressive sporty car, this car actually has rear seats. So let's go jump into the back now and take a look at the rear seats, because usually when I review performance cars, I don't have to jump into the back because there's no back to jump into. But in this particular car, we do have rear seats. So let's go check it out. Okay, so in a rare exception to performance car testing, I'm actually in the back of the M3 Touring, and this seat. Driver's seat is in my regular driving position. I'm 175 meters tall, and this is the amount of legroom that I have at the back. So pretty healthy amount of space. The back is actually fairly standard. There's nothing really special about it. You've got rear air cons, single zone, so not two zone climate control at the back, just a single zone. Of course, you've got your reading lights. There are no storage compartments because this front seats are actually sort of like a capsule seat for the sportiness. They look really pretty, and I think they also don't take up too much visual space in a sense where they don't block out the view from the back too much, so I don't think the rear is going to feel too claustrophobic. There is a dark coloured roof liner up here which you aren't able to see, but this is a dark coloured one, so it does make the car feel a little bit less spacious and roomy, but I think that's all well and good because this does tie in with the overall image of the car a lot better. You still got soft touch materials up here at the back, so that's nice, and after all, the M3 Touring is still a rather expensive car, so I think you would expect no less. And I think that these back seats, they are definitely capable of running or supporting a young family's day-to-day lifestyle. You definitely can fit car seats at the back of here. In fact, you've got nice ISOFIX points as well. Very easily opened up here, and I'm not sure you can see, but there are these lovely M design seat belts which look wonderful. I think I'm gonna have to go back and customize one of these belts for my own BMW F10 because they look wonderful. So yeah, definitely usable space at the back here. Nice amount of legroom for even a large guy like myself. So I think ladies, kids, teenagers should be very comfortable at the back of this car. Any adjustment? No adjustment. Alright, so without any further ado, let's go drive the car because I think that's what you're most excited about. First, we are going to take the car on a more leisurely drive and talk about its functionality and its usability as a day-to-day driver. And then at the end of the video, so you have to stay tuned for the end of the video, or you can just skip to the end of the video, is when we are going to do some performance testing. We're going to launch the car and see how the car performs under more extreme conditions. Alright, so let's go. Alright guys, so now we are on the roads with the M3 Touring, and let's start off with some engine specs. This car runs a 3-litre turbocharged inline 6, and this engine is actually good for 503 brake horsepower and 650 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty much the higher limits of what the S58 engine has been spec'd for, the S58 engine unit that there is in this car. And this car should do 0 to 100 in 3.6 seconds, which is an extremely impressive figure if you consider that this is a 3-litre engine, and if you consider that there are higher spec cars in the market that actually would take longer to achieve that 0 to 100 time. And I think therein lies a little bit of the beauty about the M3 Touring, because it's so full of surprises, right? Aside from the fact that its performance is pretty impressive for the kind of engine that it packs. The M3 Touring is also the kind of car where you wouldn't expect to run 3.6 seconds because it takes the form of a family-friendly wagon, albeit a sports wagon, but still a wagon. And it's got a nice big boot. It even has that, glass panel where you can open independently from the tailgate, and you've got 4 seats, 4 doors that has decent legroom, as I've showed you earlier. And this really is the kind of car that, when you don't want it to be performing with those extreme figures, you can just let it settle down and it becomes a wonderful everyday family-friendly car. And right now, what I have the car in is actually its most comfortable setting. So I've actually set the engine to efficient. I brought down the transmission response to the most comfortable setting. Chassis, brakes, everything has been put into comfort. I've turned on my turned off the M sound enhancement, or the exhaust amplifier that increases the sound of the exhaust. And everything is just in its most comfortable setting, and truthfully, you wouldn't be able to tell that this is an all-out performance car that's capable of all the things that it's capable of. And most importantly, this is a car that you can drive every day with your kids without pissing your wife off. So I think that's probably one of the most important things about the car. But at the same time, if you've done your presets, and later on I'll show you a little bit about how to do the presets as well, because M cars come with 2 presets. I've actually preset M2, which I've activated now. I've actually preset M2 to deliver better performance delivery. So the car is now in Sport Plus mode. Sort of the engine is Sport Plus, and the chassis, the brakes have all been tuned to be in a sportier setting. So we're going to see how this car actually performs off the line. Still an automatic transmission though. And you can instantly see how the car switches from being a family-friendly estate into a full-on performance car. Just a click of an M2 button. Of course, you can use M1 as well. I just like the M2 because I have M1 set to something a little bit more extreme. So let's go. Alright, so that's the car in with Sport Plus setting, with its sportier settings. Okay, I'm gonna turn it down now because I want to say something else. We are on the way to a more secluded part of the road where we can do our launch test, which I promised you guys earlier that I would do. We're gonna head there and we're gonna prep the car, and I'm gonna show you guys how to customize some of the M Sport customizations, and then we can do our launch test from there. Alright, so let's go. Alright, so now we have come to the more fun part of the video, I guess, where we're going to talk a little bit about the M3 Touring's performance. And obviously, being an M3 Touring, being an M spec car, this car is more than track ready, and you've got all your M mode customizations that you can do through the infotainment unit here, which runs on OS 8. But obviously, because we aren't at the track today and we have to be quite selective of how we do some of these performance tests, I've decided that we are going to do a sort of a launch test. We're going to launch the car, but we are not going to be using launch control, because the only way we can activate launch control in the M3 Touring is to turn off traction control. And because we are still using public roads, although it's a secluded public road, I've decided that it's best that we keep the traction control on. So what I've done, and I'll talk you through a little bit about how we do this as well. What I've done is actually to go into the driving setup menu, and what I've actually customized under my M2 configuration. For those of you who aren't aware, M cars come with 2 M mode selectors where you can preset things about the car in terms of its chassis, engine response, transmission, so on and so forth. Customize it to your liking and for the various usage that you might put the car through. But for today, for the purpose of this test, I've actually placed the engine in Sport Plus mode, which is the highest of the 3 settings. You've got transmission, where I've put it to an automatic shifting, which is under D3, and this is the middle spec of the spectrum, where you've got 6 different transmission settings. So you've got D1, D2, D3, which are all automatic, and the D3 is of course the sportiest setting. And then after you've got your sequential shifting, which is essentially your manual mode. S1, S2, S3. Under chassis, I've put it under Sport Plus, which is the highest of the 3 settings as well. Steering, we've got 2 settings. Brakes, we've got 2 settings. Both are on the higher settings, which is Sport. And then, like I mentioned earlier, DSC, we're going to leave it on. And we're not really going to use a full launch control. We are going to launch it using the brake-in throttle method. Yeah? So without any further ado, let's see how this does. I'm actually really excited because I think this is gonna be a pretty good show. Alright, so seatbelt on. I'm gonna put the car in drive. I'm activating my M2 and brakes fully in. Oh, we gotta wait. See somebody. Brakes fully in. So I have no idea what the timing was on that, and actually I'm not really sure what speeds I reached as well, but I think the purpose of that test was more to take a look at the response of the M3 Touring. Hear that wonderful sound. And it's just absolutely mind-blowing how a car that has a large size boot in the form of an estate, a touring, how a car that has 4 doors and can carry passengers comfortably, it's mind-boggling how this car is spec'd to perform in the way that it is. And it really is kind of like the one car that you need, because you really don't need anything else. While most people, they probably have a nice day-to-day car, and then maybe they have a supercar for the weekends or for the fun stuff, this is a car that you could just have on its own, and it does everything for you. Alright, so it's been an absolute blast testing this car, and I hope you've enjoyed the review. And if you found it useful in some ways, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. We would greatly appreciate it. And if you have any questions about the M3 Touring, please put them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. If not, please take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.